Okay, we've got our floor made. The next step is to add some walls to this shed. Looking at our slideshow, we've just finished slide 2 and we're about to move on to slide 3, where we're going to have this platform framing to add our walls. It's going to be made out of 2x4. Let's look at our dimensions drawings over here. Looks like the walls are made out of 2x4 inch studs, placed 16 inches on center, and from our floor to our roof looks like they want it to be 10 feet, and that is measuring from on top of the subfloor, the plywood sheathing that we just placed on the floor joist. So we want that full distance, I think, to be 10 feet. And if we look at our drawing and our slideshow and we kind of zoom in, we can see that they have a single sill plate 2x4 running the length of our floor with studs coming up, and we'll eventually have 2 top plates. That's going to look like this here, where there's a top plate running this length, and then there's a second one on top running the other length, kind of interlocking the 2 walls. That helps keep it all securely together. So if we're going to add the sill plate and these 2 top plates, and each of those roughly 2 inches in dimensions, that's going to give us 6 inches of material, and we need to make it 10 feet. So each one of these wall studs is going to be 9.5 feet tall. One quick side note, this is what a 2x4 looks like. If you've ever been to Home Depot or the lumber yard, there's this idea of like the actual versus the nominal dimensions. The nominal is like in name, and then the actual is like how big is it in real life. So we call this a 2x4, but when you go to the hardware store and you actually measure this stuff, it's usually 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and then however long you want it to be. We want ours to be 9.5 inches long, and we're just going to pretend for this activity that they really are 2 inches thick and they really are 4 inches wide. But when we're designing on Revit, we're going to make sure that our 2x4 materials is 1.5 by 3.5 inches, and I think it's already loaded into that software. But for our SketchUp tutorial, we're just going to use nice round numbers to try to not give ourselves too many headaches. So one thing that we need to do, if we haven't yet, is we're going to triple click onto our subfloor with our white cursor tool. So 1, 2, 3. Let's try that again. And if you didn't already, we want to make it a component, and we want to call it subfloor. All right, and that's going to let us build on top of this component in a different material, rather than just adding on to this piece of plywood sheathing. I'm going to go over to my scenes view and click on the top view so I get the bird's eye perspective of the floor that we made. I'm going to zoom in on this corner and grab my rectangle tool. Click on this top corner, and I'm going to drag this out. I want that to be 4 inches, okay? And then when we bring it down, it's eventually going to be the full 16 feet long. For right now, it doesn't matter how long you make it, because we're going to push-pull it where it needs to go. So for my first number, that's going to be the horizontal dimension, and the second number is going to be how long it is. So I'm going to make sure that it's 4 inches, comma, and I'll just do 12 inches to make it a foot. And there's the start of my sill plate. Okay, I'm going to kind of change my orientation of the view a little bit here so that we can see the extrusion of the push-pull tool, where we're going to pull this material up 2 inches. All right, and so now we've got the start of our 2x4 sill plate. Then I'm going to grab this end and I'm going to pull it the full distance. So I'm going to call it, I think we're going to make this 15 feet and see if that gets us all the way to the end here. Let me click on this view, zoom out. And it appears that we are in good shape. We've got our 2x4 sill plate going all the way to the edge of our subfloor. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to pull some wall studs up and start making the wall framing. Before I get ahead of myself, I want to remember to make this new material a component. So I triple clicked with my white cursor. Now I'm going to right click and say make a component, and we're going to call that the sill plate. Okay. And so now I can go back to this top view over here, and I'm going to put my first wall stud right here on top of this sill plate here. It's going to be a 2x4. All right. This time, this dimension will be 4 again, and this dimension is going to be 2, and we're going to pull it up 9.5 feet. So I'll click here, and then I'll bring it down 2 inches, which is right there. All right, I will kind of change my orientation a little bit to see this view. I'm going to grab my push-pull tool, click on this component right here, or this part of it, to pull it up, and I want that to be 9 feet 6 inches. All right, and that's going to be my first wall stud of the wall. I want to triple click on this item and make it a component and call it a wall stud. All right. And we're going to return to our PowerPoint slideshow, and I want to show you that they actually have 2 of them right in a row right here. And then every 16 inches on center, they're going to place another one. And then on top of that, we're going to put a top plate, which is going to be the same component really as the sill plate. All right, so we're going to add one more wall stud right directly next to the one we created. Then I'm going to make our top plate, and we're going to use the same, steps that we did to make the floor joists. We're going to do those same steps to make the wall studs. And lucky for us, being placed 16 inches on center, we should be able to just put one on these existing dimension lines that we have. Whether or not those are going to be visible through these other 2 pieces of material we put on there, I don't know. But we're going to leave these dimension lines here for the time being. So I'm going to pause this video, and on the next one, I'm going to make the top plate and add in all of the wall studs for this wall.